Well, Ian, at last. Our natural environment.
Absolutely.
The thing you were writing about last week was big telco groups no longer chasing size and scale. What does that mean?
Yes, well, this was a consultant called Bengt Nordstrom, who does who's
I
Nord
remember
Stream.
him. Yeah.
Bengt, good friend of ours.
Yeah.
And he's come up with his predictions for next year. One of which is that instead of this idea that you've got to be a great big telco to try and make money, which is what the European Commission is doing via Neelie Kroes, they think that they're going to allow all the telcos to combine, become 4 or 5 big pan-European telcos are going to be much better than 60 or 70 little small-scale ones.
Competitive ones.
Competitive ones. But actually, once you boil it all down, it turns out that this doesn't actually work very well at all. You don't actually get a lot of advantage from scale, not in terms of cost and so on. It just doesn't happen. So once they've worked all of this out, Bengt thinks that instead of trying to combine themselves and get bigger and larger, what telcos are going to do really is to try and make themselves more agile, slim themselves down if you like, and make themselves more money-making. Faster, leaner, more money. No, don't try and become bigger and bigger. Of course, right in the core of what we do and what the telecoms industry is, Martyn, is this idea of a modem, a modulator, demodulator, and it's been really that's what we do, isn't it? Really, we turn things into digits and we get them back out again.
We do, and I was invited by Qualcomm to go to a very intense sort of day of seminars about the importance of the modem today, and particularly mobile. And it was fascinating stuff, actually. So basically, a mobile phone consists these days of half of it's a modem. There's a 3-amp battery, and as they say, you can boil a pint of soup on that with no problems whatsoever. So you've got a very... I do. The one in my pocket, it's keeping me warm. And so modems are enormously important, and they're enormously important because you cannot manage a mobile phone network without them, and because of course they're becoming more and more software controlled.
Yes.
And so what we're seeing increasingly is people talk about 4G, and we always say it is not 4G. It hasn't arrived yet. People call it for all sorts of
marketing reasons,
marketing and shorthand purposes, but it's not 4G. It's, what's it called? LTE, long-term evolution.
That's the sort of thing in the name,
we've been going through for the past 20 million years or whatever it is, right? But most of it these days is software upgrades to an existing modem system. But the really difficult part for advanced mobile telephony going towards 4G is benchmarking the capabilities of the modem and how that's going to be done. And Qualcomm have come up with a series of very, very clever bits of technology and so on. Too complex to go into detail about here, but really, really, really quite impressive.
Yes.
And it shows the difference. You see the tests being done and the way that a network reacts to certain events and so on. Fascinating stuff.
Good.
And Ian, one of your favourite ladies of all time within the European Commission, Steely Neelie Kroes.
Bendy Neelie, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Well, fascinating developments the last week or so, where, because it's ramping up now, the Parliament's looking at her Connected Europe proposals to see whether they want to pass some of them or all of them. So the propaganda machine's really gearing up, and Neelie's turning the dial around to number 11. And as part of the programme, he's produced this wonderful film. I'm not quite sure what it's about, but it seems to be about American highways from the late 40s and early 50s, when of course they built the interstate highway system.
Eisenhower built the interstates,
which is all very well and good, and it's very visual, and it looks very sentimental and so on. But it hasn't got anything to do with networks. It's such a bad metaphor for networks, and it's to deceive. So very interesting to look at, but I don't think it takes the argument any further. So what are they doing? They're stretching the metaphor
that the motorway or the building of the freeways and the interstates is a metaphor for the modern network?
Apparently so.
Well, it's not, is it?
No, it's no.
There's no diners for a start.
Well, it gives this idea of there being only a certain number of lanes that you can have. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that the metaphor works against reality and maybe in favour of somebody who's trying to change things. But no, it's done by an old friend of yours called David Putnam. I don't know if you remember.
Lord Putnam. TelecomTV has a certain history with David Putnam. We should draw a discreet veil.
Okay, we'll discreetly veil that.
We shall talk about that at a future date. But I do remember that he seems very appropriate at this, isn't it? First of all, one of his films he produced was The Mission.
That's right.
And Neely's obviously got a mission. And he also, of course, famously produced Chariots of
of
Fire,
Fire,
which is what run down these superhighways.
I think they probably do. So, one of the other things that's happening at the moment, Martyn, is our old friends at Apple are causing a bit of a kerfuffle. And again, it's all around lawyers and intellectual property and I'm going to sue you and so on. Does this never end?
It won't end, it can't end, can it? It's the ongoing saga. It's like EastEnders in the West End. It's bizarre, really, because this company is going to make, this year in 2013, conservatively $37 billion. Okay, quite a few quid. It's moaning about a few 100,000 in one case and a few million in another. Lawyers' fees. Yeah. First one they moaned about last week, which I wrote about, which was the fact that they've got this court-appointed, what's he called? Compliance monitor. Right. They were naughty. Apple was naughty, and they fixed the price of e-books with a lot of other people. Everybody else pleaded guilty. They didn't. They went to court. They were found guilty, and they have to have this compliance lawyer to make sure they toe the line legally. He's allowed by the court to charge for his services. Apple don't like what he's charging for his service and say he's overcharging, which is, hello, Mr. Pot, hello, Mr. Kettle, isn't it? That's one extremely entertaining and funny thing. The other thing is that yesterday, I wrote about it this very morning, that Apple is now moaning about the costs involved. I said in my piece, I think we should be told how much it's cost them to sue Samsung. Turns out, so far, up until 31st of March 2013, quite a while ago, that it's 60 million plus.
Right.
Right, okay. They want, Apple wants Samsung to pay part of that.
Right.
Because they said Apple's own lawyers' fees are too expensive. Listen, mate, there's lots of lawyers out there. Go and get somebody else. And this company is called, right, I can't remember the full name, Morrison something, but they call themselves the company, the lawyers' practice, call themselves Mofo. They're not really down with the kids, are they? Have they seen what that means on the web? No. Hey. Anyway, it's time to go home.
We must.
It's got light again on us. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
See you next week.
Next week. That was the end of that.
Good.